Hey there, welcome back. So in the previous lecture, we discussed about this model as well as we wrote serializer. Now it's time for us to write views. So in the previous lecture, I also discussed about this, that we are not going to utilize this APIView class, but we will use GenericAPIView along with Mixins. So if I jump back to documentation, the first thing you need to do is just get onto this tutorial part and here get onto this class-based view. So you will see there are three types of views. The first one is using APIView class that we already discussed, that we are going to import APIView. Then we have this get as well as post method. We have already discussed this. Now the second part that we need to discuss is going to be using Mixins. I strongly recommend that if your APIView class, that means if this method is still not clear, if this part is still not clear, first practice this before jumping onto this Mixin part. I expect that you already have information about this, that all these methods that we have already done till now. So the next thing is using this Mixins. So take this as a second method in our class-based view. So how we are going to use these Mixins? So basically we are going to import GenericAPIView. So if you see this example, we are going to import generic and then we have a class called GenericAPIView. Now along with this GenericAPIView, we can import Mixins. And why we are going to use them? We have this APIView class, why we need any other type of APIView? So the thing is, these Mixins are very popular to perform common tasks. All we need to do is provide basic setting and then we have these common methods like list, create, retrieve, update, and we can perform all these common tasks very quickly. We don't have to define everything like this in these detail. So we don't have to write everything. All we are going to do is define our query set and then define which type of method we need. Now remember, with these Mixins, we have .list method, then .create, .retrieve, .update as well as .destroy. So these are the common methods that we need when we need to extract all the elements. That means extract all the reviews maybe. We are going to use list mode. When we need to perform post request, we are going to use these create. When we need to retrieve an individual element, we are going to use this retrieve. Then we have update and then we have destroy. So these are very popular to perform common tasks super fast. So to get this information about documentation, just go to API guide, go to generic views and you will get access to these Mixin information as well as this GenericAPIView. So we get these basic setting like query set, and if I need to override it, we have get query set, we have serializer class, we have lookup field. So if we don't want to use PK as our primary key in URL, we can use and define anything else and then update our lookup field. So by default, we are going to use PK. Then we have lookup URL keyword arguments, and they have several other settings that we will talk later. So we can work with pagination as well as filtering and other methods. So I strongly recommend to check out these GenericAPIView along with this example of Mixins. I hope you got the idea. Now let's get back to work and start using Mixins. So just make sure you understand this example. I'm going to copy this one only. So for now, I'm going to retrieve all the reviews and I'm going to create a post request in a single page. That means we will fetch all our reviews in a single list. But remember one thing, my later plan, that means later we are going to edit these things, and what we are going to do is we are going to create different URLs. So if I visit maybe this stream.id1 and then /review, it will show me reviews for this movie 1, and here if I use 2, it will show me reviews for movie 2. I don't want to get all the reviews mixed in a single list. I just want specific review for stream 1, stream 2 or stream 3. I hope you got the idea. So what we are going to do is, for now, for test purpose, I'm going to create a review list. And here I also need to import my generic class. Jump back here and copy this generic class. So these are all our REST framework imports and these are app imports. Now this is our review list and here I need to define my query set. So what we are doing here is we are directly passing our query set. We don't have to do everything line by line. I just need to share my query set. So this is going to be review, and I also need to import this class. Now my query set is done. I just need to use my serializer. This looks fine. The next thing is, let me just do them in one line. While writing code, it is good habit to distribute them into multiple lines, but while recording courses, some students get confused. So I'm doing that. So everything is in a single line. Here you can see we have our Mixin and our GenericAPIView class. Now let us understand what we are doing. So this was actually a copy paste. Let us understand step by step. We have created a review list class. Now we are going to utilize this import of GenericAPIView. Remember, this is going to be at the last. Initial all will be our Mixins, and then we will have our GenericAPIView class. So here I am going to import all the method Mixins that I need to perform. If you see, I have imported list model Mixin. That means I need to perform a get request for list. And here I have also performed create model Mixins. That means I need to perform a post request, which is going to be create. So that's done. Then I need to define my query set, in which I am going to collect all the objects. Then I need to define my serializer underscore class. Remember, these are attribute name and we cannot change them. So if you jump here, get back here. So these are our attribute names. That's it. Now what we have to do is, inside our get request, I need to just return my list, and inside my post request, I just need to create it. One more thing, what type of methods we have, like currently we have this list model Mixin, then we have create model, retrieve model, update model, and destroy model. That's it. Let me save this one, and let me also create a URL. So currently I'm trying to get all the reviews that are available in our database. So I'm going to use review as my link, and then I'm going to import my review.asViews. That's it. Now I'm going to provide a name as review list. So this looks fine. I also need to import this here. Yeah, that's done. If I jump back here and if I open this URL /watch and then review, I got an issue. That's obvious since we haven't imported our Mixins. So here we have imported this generics, but we also need to import our Mixins. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to jump back here and we need to import this Mixin class. This looks fine. Let me jump back here and also check out the error. The earlier error, yeah, this was for Mixins. Now let us check out our new error. Here we have issue with AsView. Okay, let me jump back here. Oh, this is going to be list. Let me use Ctrl+C to break the server, and yeah, it's working fine. So now we are getting this particular result. Currently we only have one element inside our review section. That means we only have one object inside our review table. And you can see now we have option for this HTML form. I strongly recommend don't use it. It's easier to use. We have this Django REST framework browsable API, but I don't recommend it. I use JSON request, so you get a good habit. And in next few lectures, we will be talking about Postman, which is a third-party software to work with APIs. I strongly recommend to avoid this HTML form. Initially, later on, once you have habit with JSON, you can use it, you have practice, but initially I don't recommend it. So yeah, currently we only have one object, and remember, with this current view, we can also perform post requests. So why not just pass a review? So here I'm going to copy this one, paste it here, remove the ID part. Here let's take rating as 5, description as good movie as it is, and I just need to remove these created. I just need to pass this movie ID number, that is my primary key. So if I jump here, watch list, take this as 4, And if I pass 4 here, send a post request, we created our second review and this looks fine. If I refresh this one, now you can see in our complete list, we are going to access all the reviews. So this was a base idea how we are going to perform Mixins. Currently we have imported these two classes. Now if you jump back here, we have multiple classes as discussed earlier, but maybe if I want to retrieve any single individual element, what I'm going to do is I'm going to utilize this retrieve model Mixins. So what I'm going to do is let me create a new class. So I'm going to call it as class review. Instead of review list, I'm going to call it as review detail, and I'm going to import Mixins. I'm going to import this retrieve model Mixin class. That's it. And then I need to import this GenericAPIView class. Once that is done, I just need to define my query set, in which I just need to pass my review object and my class serializer. And inside my get request, I just need to return, instead of list, I am going to return retrieve option. So here, let me copy this one, paste it here, and if I jump back, I just need to use this retrieve option. This looks fine. Let me create a URL. Remember, we are going to change them in the next lecture. Here I am just showing you how to use these generic API along with Mixins, because we need to create URL, and for reviews we need to create specific URL, not like this. So first I'm going to use this primary key, and then instead of list I'm going to use detail. Also I need to add it here, and instead of review list I'm going to call it as detail. This looks fine. Let me jump back to my website, that means my page, and here let me try to access a particular review, let's say 1. Here you can see we are able to access it. And remember, we have added only get request, so that means we cannot perform create or post request basically. So you can see we only have option for get. Now if I try to access the second one, we are able to access it. So these are pretty important when we have to perform straightforward tasks like accessing or creating or deleting or updating. So this works well. I hope you got the idea how we are going to utilize it. Now in the next lecture, let us remove them. Basically, we are going to understand the next one, the next class-based method, which is going to be using generic class-based view. Now currently we are using Mixins. Directly we have several classes in our generic field. Currently we are utilizing this GenericAPIView along with Mixins. In the next lecture, directly use these GenericAPIView and perform the next task. So it is going to be much simpler than this one. So earlier we have to perform all this, then we reduce our task to this, and now we are going to reduce to something like this. So we are reducing all our tasks step by step. So in the next lecture, we'll be discussing this, and the most important thing, we need to rediscuss about URL for reviews. I'm going to change them. I'm not going to use them directly. We need to do some setting so we can access review for particular movie in a single click, and we just want to access them. So there will be few other settings that we will be performing in next lecture. I hope this lecture was helpful. Thank you for following, and I see you guys in the next one.